human rights activist and prominent Bahraini protest leader Nabeel Rajab, whose story we've been covering for many years here on RT. He joins me live from Bahrain's capital, where he's under house arrest for his activism. Mr. Rajab, such a pleasure to speak to you. Let's start with how RT was mentioned just next to ISIS. Is that fair to even put them in the same breath as such a terrorist and terrible terrorist group?
In fact, I was not aware of such a statement except a few minutes ago, and I was really shocked to hear that, and I don't know how that was presented and who did present it in that way. But let me tell you things from my own point of view. Looking at Bahrain, looking at the revolution in the region in the past month and years, I think Russia Today was one of very few TV channel and organization that been monitoring all the violation and human rights abuses in this part of the world. Where at the time, where a lot of American TV stations have ignored our struggle, specifically, I would say CNN and those big news agency and TV station. Russia Today was the only channel, or one of very few channels, that we could expose our struggle for democracy and human rights on Bahrain and on the Gulf region and in the Arab region, where a lot of those channels, American, played a double standard, looking at their interests, and were silent, unfortunately. So I would not agree at all with this statement which criticizes. Yes, he has a right, and everybody has a right to criticize Russia Today, and I do have a right, and I don't think that 100% I agree with all what comes with Russia Today. But after all, we have to respect people's freedom of expression, and we have to admit Russia Today have moved the freedom of expression in the region much ahead, because in a region we are most of the TV channel and news agency belong to the repressive regime or influenced by repressive regime.
I was actually going to touch a little bit on that, because in the past we've seen how certain Western media has dominated the globe in terms of media agencies for decades. But now we have new voices coming out from some Arab countries and also Russia, whether it's kind of like marmalade, whether you want to love it or hate it. So do you think that poses a sort of threat to Western media, that they now have to counteract by saying that's propaganda and we want our audiences back? So we're going to say all these, what's now been seen and what's been heard recently, in order to sort of press them down even further?
No, I would say that if Russia Today continue as they are, and I think they're gonna compete with the biggest Western TV station and news agency, and maybe that kind of competition have frightened a lot of TV station or channels or businessmen. I still don't know about the statement made by the gentleman, but I think that is something not acceptable, and I think Russia Today is a respected organization, whether you agree with all what they come or what they say, or you don't agree. And I myself maybe don't agree with everything they come, but it's a respected one that is respected in our region, has covered a lot of things which other channels were not covering, where other channels playing a double standard. Russia Today were there, and we always appreciate the work they have done in the past month and years.
Nabeel Rajab, human rights activist and Bahrain protest leader, thank you very much for your thoughts on this.